Hello everyone, my name is Lance090 and welcome to Let's Play Kerbal Space Program. It's been quite some time since we played this. I can't even remember what the last version would have been. Maybe like 0.24 or something. But now the game's in a full release version, and it's also in full release version 1.2. So quite a lot of stuff has changed since last time. As kind of with the GTA 2 game, it's going to be a quite different game than it used to be, to some degree. And I've also heavily modded it because Kerbal Space Program kinda needs the mods, but we'll get into those as we see them. Let's start the game. Start a new one. Call this the Lightfire Space. I guess we'll just call it Space Program instead of meaning not get too complicated. Put my own flag in. I don't know if you consider that a mod or not, but there it is. Let's customize the difficulty. We will do career mode. I don't have better than starting manned in because they haven't updated that mod yet for 1.2. Or I'm not even sure it's ready for 1.1 even. But it's a little bit of a shame. But I think I have some creative ideas of how to kind of get around that problem. I'll kind of explain that as we get in here because I don't know how many of you have actually played Kerbal Space Program. So I'll try to explain some of the stuff as we go. Just customizing the difficulty here, making things a little bit harder in some areas. Turning off missing crews respawn, so permadeath basically for our characters. I'm going to leave quick loading and reverting flights in because sometimes the game just glitches out or just some strange unexplicable error happens. And then that's not really any fault of yourself. And you'll want to be able to reload if that kind of thing happens. This is all fine. I'm tempted to maybe turn re-entry heating up, but I don't know, because the last time I played it was too weak, but I do know that they increased it. So maybe I don't need to. Starting funds for science, all at 100%. It's fine. Actually, I might turn up reputation penalties to like 150 or 250%. That way, if a character dies, that's kind of a big deal. Although I'm not even sure reputation plays any part in the game yet. That's all good. Enable comm network, yes. The comm network is a new thing that came out with 1.2. It's basically remote tech, like a simplified version of it, but so now you don't really need remote tech if you don't want. We'll turn on plasma blackout and signal for control. That makes things a little bit hard. The Kerbal experience on. Have them level up immediately. I'll turn on all these part limits. I don't know if they're gonna be like this will make things too hard, but I don't think so. Because usually the in-game options for difficulty are not actually all that difficult. Alright, great. Well, that's interesting. Enable the full set of ground stations for the Deep Space Network, not just the KSC. So if you've played Remote Tech, the mod that adds a ComNet, it used to be for that mod you only get the KSC, but with this on there's a tracking station all around the planet. Makes things a little bit easier. I think I will leave that on though because that's just a little bit more realistic. Tech Life Support's another mod I have on. Just gives us life support because it's not in the base game yet. They might add it eventually. So that'll all be good. I think we're ready to go. So my microphone probably sounds better now. I ran some tests and tried to figure things out. And I think it's recording in stereo now instead of in mono. So it should sound a lot better. It's also on a stand instead of on my desk. But it is off to my left, which is kind of annoying. Instead of being more in front of me, so I might sound like I'm talking out of a specific direction more than the other. So we can go over some of the more mods I have installed. I have stage recovery on. This just lets you put parachutes and things on parts that re-enter the atmosphere. So as long as they're safe, you should be able to recover them to get your money back. Distant object enhancements, just a visual mod. It makes planets easier to see far away, as they are in real life. They stand out more than like background stars do. Texture replacer just kind of makes the some mods need this one as just a dependency, but all this will basically do is just make the characters look a little better, because I don't think there's anything that's reliant on that right now. Kerbal alarm clock. This will help if we have lots of spacecraft that we need to monitor and have to make sure that we're getting to them at the right times to do their maneuvers. This one's TAC life support, and this one's Final Frontier, which shows off achievement logs for a variety of characters. And then these are the actual in-game contracts and stuff. So, you can see there's some nice UI things that they've changed. You can see that there's like these little tabs over here. Kind of a quicker way to navigate between things instead of having to click on them. And there's also a warp to next morning button up here. There's lots of ease of life things. But let's get started. So right now, these are our 4 contracts we have available. We have gather scientific data from Kerbin, resulting in an intriguing data set on meeting new goals and deadlines. The new ideas were sought for amounts of time. There would be problems with unintended ignition. CEO showed us some star sticker, and we nevertheless are certain that we should study science and assessments. You need to sit some light on them. I'm not going to read all these in detail because some of these like don't really make too much sense. There's like some grammar issues and stuff, but it's fine. Give us a quick pre-report before launching. It's fine if the lights and control panels are flashing. Just give it a swift kick. Give us some money, tiny bit of science, and tiny bit of reputation. Basically just our first step, as well as this. This is also just a first step. Launch our first vessel. We could probably build something that could escape the atmosphere with the base parts that we start with, but it wouldn't be that easy. So we're just going to take these 3. We don't have any science to spend, so we're not going to be doing anything else. We already have 4 astronauts, so we don't have to hire any more. Let's just go to the vehicle assembly building. Started on our first mission. I don't need these tutorials. So this was the part where I was kind of mentioning that better than starting man thing. With the Kerbal Space Program, your space program starts out manned, as opposed to real life where we started with space probes. But that mod's not available. I wish it was. I didn't use it before, but now I would like to try it. But I was too late to that. So this is going to be my in-game kind of in-character reasoning for why this is. We're going to assume that Kerbals are not advanced enough yet to build actual computers, and that means nothing can be automated right now, and they need actual pilots to pilot things. Let's like assume that like the space race started after World War I or something. Yes, that'll be our excuse. But right now, we have very few parts we can use here. Just have this command capsule. There's not going to be too much room for making anything interesting here, because everyone's going to build the exact same thing at the start. But there are some small things we can tweak to give ourselves an advantage that might not quite everyone will maybe do. My attachment node things are. So our science experiments, the mystery goo containers, they're pretty good. They bring back pretty good science. These are not lined up. that will do it for our first little hopping vessel. You can see there's been some changes to like the textures too. Like this solid rocket booster has some like heat scarring on it. It's kind of cool because I think if you like look at the part descriptions for like these early parts, they're like they've been reused and stuff. Considered to be while considered to be by some a little more than a trash can full of boom, the RT-5 can be seen in use in many space programs, perhaps possibly because it's the only option for many space programs. Nevertheless, this small booster provides a nice kick to lift small payloads and considerable heights. Use caution though, once lit solid fuel motors cannot be put out until the fuel runs out. Not be shut down. That's the problem with the solid rocket boosters. What we can do, and maybe not everyone does this, which probably results into a lot of early deaths for people. We're gonna lower the thrust down to like 40. And like we might have even wanted to bring it down lower than that. But this thing has a lot more thrust than this pod needs to get going. And so you'll have re-entry effects while going up if you leave it at 100%. And even with 40 it might still have those. But this will get us a little bit more distance than some people might get. I think I will put on fins too. Oh no, they cost me a 25. Put on fins. I thought for a second it said 25,000. I was like, what? Let's do that. Spacecraft 1. I'm not gonna bother giving these ones fancy names at the start, because these just don't, like I said, they're not, everyone's gonna build this exact same thing. And who are you putting in? Jebediah. Good enough for me. Save it and launch. Running 64-bit this time. They finally got around to getting that working. They've been wanting to work on that forever, and they never really got around to it. So let's get as much science as we can from just the launch pad here. We can take a crew report, or the crew's assessment of the situation. And see, there's more information on the transmit data now because of the comm network thing. So signal strength is like this up here. So you have to have a mix between having good signal strength and the default value of transmitting as opposed to keeping the experiment information. Not that it matters on a crew experiment on the launch pad. So mystery goo. That. And hopefully physics haven't changed too much. And it'll be safe enough to EVA Jebediah. Now this is like the text replacer mod. It actually took off his helmet while he's in the atmosphere of Kerbal. It's cool. UVA report. I don't think a spacesuit was necessary to get here, was it? It looks like they have fixed the bug where you could, where doing this would have resulted in getting an EVA report from air above the KFC. It used to be considered like you were flying. Get back in the ship, please. And rather than risk losing all this data we've already collected, we're just going to cover the vessel and relaunch. Because if you recover on the launch pad, you're not losing any value. You get the entire value of the spacecraft back. See all the part values there. Tiny amount of funds, or a tiny amount of science, a fair amount of funds, and some reputation. Just a small little kick. Some of these researches are even like stupid cheap. Like we can already unlock something else at this point. Magnetometer. Low and high orbit, or on the surface, so this would actually work on the ground. Interesting. I like to try to get as much on the ground first before going to space. I just kind of like trying to, oh yeah, Jebediah has his first Kerbal surface EVA ribbon. I like to try to get as much on the ground first before doing any kind of flying or anything, just to kind of push the realism again. Like I said, I wish we had the better than starting manned. We don't. So now we have decouplers. One's from KW Aerospace, and the other is the stock game one. KW Aerospace ones just look a lot nicer. Or KW Rocketry, I'm sorry. So now we can ditch all this extra weight if we want to. Although... Change my mind. Since we don't have any radial parachutes yet, I don't think. I think we'll want to keep this all in one piece. No reason to transmit yet, but now there's a thermometer. This thing has no physics enabled on it, so it shouldn't throw off our vessel weight to only have one. Kind of lopsided. As long as we're staying on the launch pad, it's fine. It's gonna be a problem in other situations because it's not very compact. Hard to launch with. Yeah, we don't have any radial chutes yet, so there's no way to detach this and save it from destruction. Spacecraft? Duh. I will give more creative names once we have craft that are more specialized and more interesting than this. What do you have to tell me, magnetometer? Very little. The magnetometer is properly calibrated and records the surface levels of the magnetic field. Yeah, those things are built for space probes. That's why it looks ridiculously big. If you've ever looked at like some of the deep space probes, they have a magnetometer like that sticking out. Temperature readings are quite literally nominal. I think there is more mystery goo data to have here. Tiny bit. So we'll bring this in. Again, it's free to do it on the launch pad. You might as well get all the data from the launch pad you can. In fact, there's even more we can get, but we're going to build something different to get the rest of the ground data. Researching more than 10 science points. Thank you. Probably want basic rocketry now. This will give us a bigger booster and some actual liquid engines. 5 ability will give us more parachutes that we want and a lot of the life support stuff. These would give us some more stability, like it says, aerodynamic nose cone, bigger wings. And then there's also general rocketry up here is one we're gonna want to get soon, because it has the main parts you want to start real spaceflight stuff. It has these good engines in it. But I think we're gonna have to do our first actual launch now. I don't think Mission Control has more. We can probably escape the atmosphere now with what we have. We have liquid fuel engines now? We do. We do. Don't have radial chutes yet. We'd be losing some funds of whatever we launch up. Which is fine, that's how most people would play anyway without the VON on. So I'd like to try to recycle everything we can. But I think this is all we'll do. There is some ridiculous stuff we can do, if we wanted. We can make a very amusing contraption to get more science that's on the ground here. I wanted to wait till we could build like a small airplane vehicle kind of thing. We can actually... Oh, space plane. Right. Actually make something amusing here. Oops, I minimized the game on accident. In Mundoed mode. Alright. Forgot that there's not like a snap to with this item. So what we're building here is ridiculous. Gets the job done. It's also a little bit dangerous. Hey, this is Kerbal Space Program. Let's put this on the bottom. I don't think I can put a magnetometer on this, actually. I was going to. That. Then, a second command pod. Let's see, I have to remember controls to flip things around. Okay, so this ridiculous contraption will roll around and gather science for us. Science. Oops. Science machine. Let's Jebediah. You're not getting any experience yet, so it doesn't matter. We cycle people in and out. One thing we could do is we could put Bob on. He's a scientist. He'll be able to reset experiments like these ones, because these ones are only one-time use. But he can reset them if he EVAs and resets them. But I'm not going to take this one far because that would just be a painful use of time. Although I could have put a second person in just to gather crew reports a little bit faster. That's fine. Crew report, reporting from the runway. Good thing there's not a lot of air traffic because I don't think we ever got clearance from the tower to be here. Data. Is there mystery goo? Data. Temperature. Data. EVA. Airport from the runway. Chance if I let go, he'll fall, which will be not good. But he might be flying right now, technically. Crap, yes, put it in. Yeah, no. Game doesn't let you glitch it out anymore. Just take the data and then store it again. There is a reason for that. That is, if you just try to keep gathering experiments without getting out of the ship and EVAing out of the ship and then taking it out and putting it back in, it won't let you keep gathering data. Like if I had not pulled it out, the next time we tried to do a crew report from over here, it'd say, do you want to overwrite the data? But since we pulled it out and put it back in, it'll now let us do more crew reports if we want. But here's the actual reason we designed the ship this way. We can roll. Have to watch our power. It takes power to end the ship. Right now we're still on the runway, so there's no point to doing more science. But if we just roll over this way, you can see there's a slope here. Actually, might not be able to see it. It's a little bit hard to see. We'll just waddle down this slope gently. And now we're in a new biome. Congratulations. Mystery goo. Who seems bored? Crew report. Oh, that's the one we're not in. One we're in. Home. Dewey, we're home. This is... Oh, G-Force, launch of concentration. There's more buttons down here that I haven't seen before. I don't know what that is. Move slot. Seems like a risky button to perhaps touch. A report from the KSC. Don't think it was entirely necessary to wear a spacesuit here. Back on board. I would try to roll back. We might be able to roll back onto the roll back on the runway. We'll be guaranteed to get 100% of our value back. Technically on it now, but if you're in motion, you can't recover your spacecraft. So, and that slope would have made it hard to recover, but we can recover. That should be a lot of science because I think the KSC biome was worth more than like the landing pad and stuff was. Yeah, 21 science. Nice. Alright, now some more researching. He got first landing on Kerbin. I guess you could consider it that. General rocketry. Yeah, we're gonna want survivability. Those drogue chutes and radial parachutes are so good, especially for the stage recovery. But there's also science parts in here too. Use the submersible science package to explore uncharted depths of the ocean. Data can be collected above and below the depth threshold for maximize science gain. I don't know if it's a one-time use. Full data is resettable. Heart temperature. I don't know what mod I'm using that has part temperature, but that might be good to know that one of my mods is putting in part temperature. Those are a lot of those science parts are not in the base game. Like the stenographer thing is not in the base game. The barometer is. Radiator, I do not think is. Grab survivability, even though general rocketry is really tempting. More science you can get, just the better. Science is real good. As with any game, the more you can front end the stuff that lets you get more stuff, better. Alright, let's load our spacecraft. Alright. Still not launching. Service bay. Oh, service bays are really cool. So, well, that's one of the mods. I don't know which one. Maybe it's not the. I don't know if it is from a mod anymore or not. But it's this cool thing that we can put on our ship. Oh, why that wasn't going away. And open it. We can put things inside. Like these mystery containers that are kind of pain in the butt because they're not aerodynamic at all. Toss those in there. Now, just open those up as we need them. A little hard to put stuff in there, but it's a very nice thing to have and realistic too. You want to put all these devices on the outside. Oops, I minimized the game again. Barometer in there. And these don't have physics, so doesn't matter if they're lopsided. Unless they change them to have physics, but I do not think they did. Already taken the magnetometer meeting thing. I can pull off the other things too because we're still not launching. I know how boring playing Kerbal Space Program and not launching anything. There's so much data on the ground. Like, why Why bother taking a risk launching with these crappy parts when you can just sit on the ground? Get all this science. I think we've already temperature here, yes. All that was basically just for one data set, which isn't exactly ideal. This will be the end of the episode. A little bit more science, not enough to get anything unlocked, unfortunately. So in the next one, we'll actually launch a rocket, because there's not too much more we can do here. Lieutenant Colonel completing at least a single mission as a pilot. We already have that, though. But that'll be it for this episode. I hope you all enjoyed, and have a good day.